I just wanted to do another ASMR thing. I wanted to do one that was kind of for Halloween stuff if I can get this all wrapped up in time. I've got some time today, so I wanted to at least start. And I've got this, I don't know which way I want to hold this. It's hard to direct myself when the camera's like mirrored and stuff, and I'm stupid. But I got these two discs here. I don't have the box anymore for this set, but it's like 8, one of those kind of more generic packs, sort of like, oh, you get all these scary movies in one thing. So there's 8 of them, and I'm going to try to do mini reviews of the 8 of them, and they're not going to be very good reviews because I'm not a very good movie critic. So the ASMR part is really what we're banking on. And I'm going to start with this disc, and we'll move to this disc. Sorry I don't have the case anymore. Yeah, so we will just do that. Start with Castle Freak, see how it goes, and hopefully this is a cool little thing, and we'll see if this pack is something that's worth looking at in the first place. So look forward to that. Alright, so the first movie on this was Castle Freak. And to give you my basic understanding of the plot rundown, is this dude inherits a castle after somebody dies, and he doesn't really understand totally why at the time, but it was signed to him to inherit it, and he does. So him and his wife and his daughter go there, and you basically, as in the beginnings of the movie, you kind of find out the setting of this is like, he's like a recovering alcoholic, basically, who's they're looking to just go to this castle that they've inherited, and to basically he's gonna just try to get all the stuff assessed or whatever, and just sell off all of the stuff in the castle for the money. It's not like they're gonna stay there or anything. But while they're waiting there to do that, they're having problems because he's like a recovering alcoholic, and apparently he was in got into a car crash because he was driving while he was drunk, and then it was like, that's how their daughter became blind, I guess. I think it's like something with the shrapnel or some stuff that got in her eyes, and she was blind, and then I was giving them problems there as well, and with his wife. And then there is they had a son who died in that car crash, so that's kind of the heavy thing that's weighing over there, and he's trying not to drink again or whatever. And basically the plot kind of turns a bit more, because again it's still kind of early on, but we find out that for one thing, we find out that there was this weird creature that's in this dungeon area in the basement of the castle, has been trapped there, and essentially the creature manages to break free and is then kind of roaming around the castle, is kind of the thing. And that is more or less, I guess, the setting of this. Without giving too much away, that's kind of what happens, is that it involves those things, and I guess essentially they get in trouble with the law, which is why they can't just leave or keep doing what they're doing, because they already reported somebody was in the castle because they thought there was, but the police kind of play it off as if the daughter just thought there was someone there but didn't actually know because she can't see. And then also they did a thing with because of the marital problems, the dude goes to this bar. He doesn't really speak. It's in different countries. Doesn't really speak. Doesn't speak Spanish. So it's just oh well. He's just getting wasted there, and brings a prostitute back. Doesn't know it's a prostitute, but brings a prostitute back with him. Has sex with her. Then finds out afterwards when she wants money. Finally is oh, Ray, you're a prostitute. And then she ends up missing because the creature thing finds her, and that's pretty much where the rest of it kind of goes from there. It's oh well, how did they get out of that situation? What's going to happen with all these loose ends we've got now. And I'll stop there before I ruin too much. But it's pretty good, actually. It works. I think it kind of works as a horror story, like, or a horror movie, because it's like it's not like it's not about a bunch of jump scares, or like, oh, there's the thing or whatever. Interestingly, it actually shows us the monster pretty early. Not like it's often like very covered or like from different angles. You don't really get a full like look at it, but it's still like the monster's very present right away. As a thing that you're like, this is gonna intervene with this other story. Also, the main story stuff is kind of sad and like depressing, and so I think that also helps with this feeling of like a lot of this is just disturbing and kind of awkward and gross. And I mean, you see a lot of the prostitute in the few scenes of prostitutes in, so you know, there's also that in there. But yeah, I know some of this is just like really like uncomfortable and gross, and it's one of those things where like you want to like look away, but it's like one of those where it's like you're supposed to be watching that because that's the part that's like horror about it. It's not like, oh geez, like I'm scared, or somebody's just, oh, it's all people are just getting immediately killed or something, you know. It's not even like over the top gore. It's just like very uncomfortable gore, I guess. So that's most of it. Without I feel bad I can't talk more about this because number one, I don't want to give too many things away because the things that happen are what's fun to see, and also I don't want to there was another thing I didn't want to do. I'm really great at reviewing things. I don't know. I just don't want to spoil surprises for you. It's a lot of that. It's like you don't really know what's necessarily going to happen, and then things happen, and it's just like the pace and the way they happen, and it's just it works. It's interesting, and it doesn't feel like it's trying too hard to be like, oh, it's a scary thing or anything like that. It's just sort of like a movie that happens that also happens to be kind of freaky and gross, and it's an okay pick for a Halloween movie, I guess. As Castle Freak, and I'm gonna try to go in the order of the discs here as they are printed, because the menu is usually a little bit different. But next up, I'll be watching The Faculty, so I'll see you in the next part. It's only gonna be one video, so see you there. Alright, so the next one I watched was The Faculty. And the basic plot of this one, I suppose, is that they find this weird specimen around this school, and coinciding along with that, some of the faculty of the school start acting strange. It's like a high school, and they seem to start acting really odd, and some of the kids start figuring it out. And basically what they figure out, again, this is somewhat early on as part of the plot, is that there's somehow related to that, some kind of thing is starting to take over all these people in the school. And it starts with the faculty, but it starts affecting the students as well. And so this one group that's kind of figuring it out sort of comes together, and they're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on and how they can stop what might be going on. And it's mostly the idea is like, you know, what's going on, and you know, can they stop it? How far will it go if they don't stop it? Or do they run away and try to get away from it? It's kind of that whole thing. Um, and I mean, a few things were kind of nice about it, I guess. Um, like I kind of like it, like that they don't really treat it as if like they know exactly what's happening. They're just taking these guesses, and they're not the most insane guesses to take. They're just kind of like, oh, these things like because of stuff that happens. Like, oh well, from what I understand of this idea of something taking over like this is how things would go, and you're never really sure if what they're doing is going to work or not. They're never like no one's ever like definitely. They're all like very skeptical of like we don't know if that's even the case, if that's going to work. We're just kind of going off of this hunch. Everything we're doing could be, completely bullshit. And I love that they do that in the sense that it's like it doesn't try to make it pretend like that's exactly what will work, So like that element of like maybe this won't even work. Who knows? Makes you feel a little more grounded and realistic in that sense, I guess. But then again, it also kind of feels like what does it say? It says it came out copyright was 1999. It says down there you may have saw, and so it's like it feels like trying to make a B a B movie, a horror B movie, for the time, kind of. I mean, the people they have alright casting, I guess. They got rights for songs and stuff, but like this doesn't really feel like it's a really. It doesn't feel like a great movie or a classic movie or anything. It feels like it's kind of standard horror stuff, trying to put like a more modern twist on it with the equipment and the people and whatnot. But it also just kind of ends up feeling like kind of dated in the sense that you still have, your high school students are like, oh, you've got the jock and you've got the head cheerleader, whom I don't think we ever even see her cheer, by the way. Not that you need to, but like a jock, a head cheerleader. There's like the nerdy kid. There's like the cool guy. There's a new girl. There's a sort of like an outcast girl. I don't know. Like there's just a lot of them feel kind of like stereotypical, like high school archetypes or whatever. I don't know. They throw them in there and they're like, oh yeah, that's movies do that. Horror movies will have them in there. Okay. And it's not great. It's not bad. It's probably the equivalent of like kind of an okay B horror movie just for its time. So unlike the older ones, it's got it looks a little nicer. It's got higher production value and whatnot, just because it was by Miramax. I don't know. They're not. I don't think they're really. I don't really know much about this. I don't know if they go cheap on stuff or not. But like, just the fact that it also is a newer movie, it doesn't feel like it's not gonna feel as cheap and like be as noticeable as an older movie that does it, because just technology has advanced further since then. So what's cheap now, or at the time, is better than what used to be available for cheap back then. That's what I feel like, anyways. That or this was supposed to be really good, and it kind of flopped. I don't know. But it's not necessarily a thing that you shouldn't watch. But it's not necessarily a thing that you'd watch again. I guess I would kind of leave it at that. It does what it wants to do. It doesn't do anything amazingly well, but it doesn't do anything amazingly stupid. And so it just kind of ends up being like a thing you can watch that you'll probably be entertained enough by whilst watching it, and then afterwards have no desire to see it again. And up next is, maybe Miramax put out this collection. Maybe they own the rights to all of these. Next is The Prophecy, and I believe, because I think I may have watched at least these first three. I watched a long time ago, and I believe The Prophecy is the one that has Christopher Walken in it, so that should be interesting. We'll see. Alright, so I just watched The Prophecy with Christopher Walken was in it. That was the big billing they got there. I'll be totally honest. I only really like half paid attention to this one. I was kind of doing some other stuff on the side, so. Also, this one didn't have a super simple like plot thing, so I feel like I maybe missed some details. It's kind of based on like some biblical stuff, and essentially what kind of happens is like our main hero guy is I guess he was going to be a priest, and then like he saw like something weird, like some weird evil stuff, had a crazy vision when he was about to become one, and then he decided not to become one, and he became a cop after that. And the stuff like it basically gets tangled up in this weird plot between angels. Where there are some angels that are, I mean, he kind of uncovers some stuff too with like they find this book and whatnot. And essentially the main plot is this idea that there's it was a prophecy of like this this war, this second war in heaven, and the idea is that it's being fought on Earth, and so angels are trying to. There's some angels that are trying to fight like for humanity, and there's some angels that are fighting to rid the world of humans, and so try to make heaven just for angels again, rather than letting humans be part of that. I guess is kind of the idea. And that was basically the plot thing of this, and it's very based in religion with that stuff. I don't know how much of what they're talking about is accurate or from something, you know, but it was an interesting thought, I guess. It's not really played out really interestingly, and it feels like it's kind of it's made in a way where it's like you always feel like you're trying to stop something from happening and someone else is trying to make something happen, but a lot of the pacing is okay, we're trying to get to someone before something happens, or you know, they're trying to get, and someone else is trying to get to someone to make something happen, but it doesn't often feel like we're seeing much for results there either. It's just going to these things and nothing really comes of it, or they get there and something's already happened. There's not a whole lot of like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of meat and like substance of like, here's stuff that's going on. We're mostly trying to figure it out and then not really seeing much of it, and also it seems to be structured in a way so people can keep giving little monologues and speeches and whatnot, and try to I guess try to make it sound more intellectual, and like it's got like some philosophical element to it there that's not really that interesting, because a lot of it's just doesn't seem to be pushed, you know, it doesn't seem to be shown much in the movie. I guess it's a lot of like, it's like maybe it means this, maybe we're supposed to do this, or maybe it's better if we do something like this, you know. And it's like there's a lot of people having their philosophies being thrown out there without really showing a whole lot of putting those ideas into practice, and not even necessarily directly as like, oh, they're going to do their theory or whatever, because that would affect the plot, but there's no like overarching, you know, philosophy of that. There's no like stuff that's happening in the film that feels like it's really like, oh, this is really pushing this point across because of like this thing, and this is symbolic of that, or this is like echoing that idea. There's none of that in there, and so it comes off very empty for a lot of it, and it feels like it's a movie that wants to be smart, and just kind of isn't. Like it wants to be smart. It's telling you it's smart, but the things it's doing aren't really all that smart, I guess. Like when someone who is smart tells you smart things, without really showing you the applications of those smart things. I guess it's sort of the best I can get. I'm not a smart person, so I can't really do that either. But I'm not pretending like I can. So, I don't know. it just kind of felt also a little long, even though I was distracted and doing other things too. It was still kind of like, man, is this over yet? So, um, not great. I feel like that's gonna be the tone for this whole thing. Every one of these is gonna be like, this was a movie that I saw. This is why I'm not a movie critic. Well, the next clip will probably finish out the disc then, eh? Dracula 2000 is either going to be like an awesome futuristic Dracula thing. I mean, it came out in 2000, so that makes me believe it might just be like another Dracula movie. But they called it 2000 because that's when it came out, and it sounds cool to call something 2000. Wouldn't it be kind of funny if it was like in the distant future of the year 2000, when it was 2000? That would have been neat. I really doubt it. I really doubt it's going to do that. Alright, I don't know if it'll be super apparent on the recording. I took a short break between these. I'm trying to power through these last few movies to get this thing out for Halloween, if I can do that. But I just watched Dracula 2000. And it basically, sorry to let you down, but it is, just takes place in the year 2000. It's not like some like older movie where it's like the future 2000. I think all these movies are pretty much, aside from so far I think Castle Freak, I think pretty much all these are from the 90s or like early 2000s. I think that's kind of the ballpark they're going with all of these, I think. Basic plot is a thing of like basically it starts off with like these people like breaking into like this, I think it's supposed to be like a, well, I think that it's just a place where like a dude like collects a bunch of like artifacts and stuff and sells a lot of it to museums and shit. I think is sort of the thing. So it's kind of like that, but then like he's also housing some stuff in there with like security and shit. So these people in the beginning like break into it like immediately. They don't know what's in there, and they steal this coffin. That's like they just kind of perceive like, oh, all the stuff is just to scare off people who are going to steal these things. Because I think it's still sort of in a somewhat like modern city and shit. And then it's like they steal this coffin thing with them, and like it ends up essentially being Dracula in there. They end up kind of letting Dracula out, and then he's out upon the world. Again, it's kind of like the main plot. And so like it's this thing of trying to figure out how to stop Dracula. Because the guy that had Dracula kept there, locked away and sealed away, in a special manner, was like supposedly the doctor that like worked on him for like, I don't know the whole story of Dracula, honestly. I've not read Dracula through, so forgive me for missing some of the details for that. But like basically the doctor that like was trying to like figure out like who Dracula was and like why he couldn't be killed or anything like other vampires and shit. And so it kind of follows this thing of like Dracula's out, he's looking for somebody. It's actually like it's kind of the thing. It's like they're trying to kind of stop him and like figure out how to stop him and that kind of thing. So it's pretty much just like that, sort of a slasher-y flick, action slasher kind of thing, and it's I mean, I liked it. I didn't think it was a great movie or anything. I wouldn't be like, I need to watch that again, but like, it's alright. It's one where I think if somebody was looking for something to watch, or like, you know, for Halloween stuff or something, or like, you know, if somebody else like brought up like watch that, I would be fine watching it. I just probably wouldn't bring it up as like my suggestion to watch, that kind of thing. Some of the parts of it, like, some of it's pretty good, I guess, like, in the sense of some of the ways, like, there are a few situations where, like, the way characters are acting and reacting feels a little more like, oh, that feels a little more natural than you might expect from, like, a movie where everything's supposed to be awesome. They kind of throw in some little more, like, sort of real-ish moments in there to make it still feel like this is just a huge show of things happening. So that's kind of cool. But there's also parts that are like, like they kind of rush the plot ideas pretty quick. They don't have a great introduction. They try to kind of give you information when you need the information rather than a setup payoff kind of thing for a lot of it. And they have like a weird, it's not like a huge plot twist really, it's more like a lore twist they do in the movie. I'm not going to give it away because it's a twist and whatever, but that's there. So hopefully, I don't know, like, I haven't spoiled too much of it already. It's fine. It's something that I watched and was entertained enough to watch it. I was not super bored. I didn't think anything was really terrible. There were a few like things that were kind of stupid in it. I don't know. There was like one point is like, it was supposed to be like, I think, genuinely funny. I think it was the idea. It was supposed to be, oh, it's a funny joke, which is funny how like stupid and like bad it is the part where they're like, someone asks Dracula, because they don't know it's him. It's just like a dude walking around. It's like, can I get you like some coffee or something to drink? And he's like, I don't drink coffee. And it's just so stupid. It's so, there's like that big pause there too. I thought he was just gonna say he doesn't drink, and then he adds coffee with that. It's stupid, like the tone and like the smirk, and it's like, oh god, it's so dumb. It's great. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Not as awesome as I was hoping it would be, and not as terrible as I was dreading it was going to be. It's fine. It's passable. It's entertaining enough, and that's the whole disc down. So now we just have this other disc that I can hopefully power through in a few days, and then edit this together and get it up. Because if I don't, this will be a late video. And it looks like, anyway, it's not marked with a year on here. I don't know when that came out. I guess we'll see. Yeah, the next one is Subspecies. So that sounds like it's gonna be, sounds like, I mean, I don't know. Well, it's coming out in 2013. Oh, cool. The collection, not that. I don't know when that came out yet. But that could be cool. Because you can do like aliens or monsters or something. Or it could be lame if they try to explain things too much or have a weird preachy message. I don't know. I won't know until I see it. Because I don't know it by name or anything, so going into uncharted territory with the second disc. See you there. Alright, so I watched Subspecies. It's, from what I could follow, it's basically this thing of like, there's like a bloodstone, and I don't really understand what the bloodstone is made of or does. But like at the beginning, this vampire wants bloodstone, and it's like from his like father, who looks like a dude and not a vampire, but I don't know. I guess he is. I don't know. I don't really understand what the subspecies name even means. If that's what the one guy was, because he looked like kind of like a monster-y vampire thing. The other guy like just looked like a guy, but I think was also a vampire. Maybe because he could drink from the bloodstone. I don't know. A lot of it was lost on me, or either I missed it, or I didn't know it going into it, or they just didn't explain it. basically there's like these two brothers, and like he's gonna give it to the father's gonna give it to the other brother who's younger, rather than this firstborn, which is the weird monster looking vampire dude. Um, and that causes problems. So he's trying to get the bloodstone so that he can control people with the power of the bloodstone. I think that's what it does, I guess. Somehow it can do that. So that's why he doesn't want to give it to him, because like he's gonna do like bad things with it. So like, there's that. Meanwhile, there's like this other part of the plot is that these like three girls are here in, is it Transylvania or wherever it is. They're basically like researching this strange castle that's there, because they like, I think it's for like their, I want to say like their like PhD, or there's some kind of degree they're getting. So they got to go there to study things. You don't really see them doing a whole lot of studying, but they're doing that. So like they're staying in like this weird like castle that like history books don't talk about. And, like they're kind of trying to figure out what's going on with that and like what that's about. And then these two plots kind of converge a bit, and then that's most of the movie is then dealing with the craziness that ensues. I'm really great at explaining plots of movies, as you can tell. So it's okay. It's I don't know when it came out, because it doesn't say on here, and on the thing at the end it was like said in, you know, like Roman numerals. I don't know all the numbers of those, so. But it looked like it was maybe 80s or something. 80s, 90s maybe, I don't know. It was, it looked kind of cool, like it looked like kind of grainy, like older video, but like a lot of the set stuff was cool. The music was pretty good, I think, for a lot of it too, which was nice. So that like some of the sets and like the music and stuff was cool. The story was really slow, really empty. And it didn't feel like it was like a good, like simple story that they nailed. It just feels like certain things kind of just like, this thing is gonna happen now, this thing's gonna happen now, I guess. And like, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of good things to connect all the points, or that all the things that do happen are all interesting and entertaining. So a lot of it does end up feeling like, when is another thing gonna happen, and is it gonna be exciting when this next thing happens? And some of it's fine, some of it's a little dull. Nothing about it was really awesome or anything. So it was enough to keep my attention, and just not enough to really make me care, I guess, was this sort of the bottom line of that. And then it was over. I don't know, there's some stop motion in it. There's a few of these little like stop motion creatures that show up, so that's cool. Those are cool. But like, yeah, you could probably give this one a pass. If you have the collection, you could watch it once. But it's not something that I would recommend you go out of your way to see. And it's probably not something you're going to watch again. So next we're going to do From Dusk Till Dawn, which is 96. That's a pretty famous one, I believe. Maybe it's not as famous as I think it is. But I've seen it on TV before, and I've seen the movie before. So I'm looking forward to seeing it again. Because I remember being good. So hopefully it's still good. See you there. Alright, so I just watched From Dusk Till Dawn. And this one is basically, it's like, I guess there are these two criminal brothers. I forgot what they said they did originally. The one did something, I don't remember what I think it was just related to like crimes he did like in the past or whatever, but his brother breaks him out. They rob a bank. Maybe they're doing that for somebody else anyways, or getting that money for somebody else, so they're doing that and they get a cut of it or whatever. And it's So they rob the bank, and it's them trying to escape and like go across the border and wait for their contact to come and pick them up. And then they get mixed up with like a hostage situation where they need to end up bringing like they want hostages with them, I think, for like a bargaining chip essentially. But they also need people to like get them across the border. They need to use like their vehicles or whatever and stuff, and like so they end up with like this father and like the two kids, and they're like going already like driving around in like a recreational vehicle or whatever, and then they get across the border, and then I feel like it's a large part. It's like half of the movie happens after this twist is happening while they're waiting across the border, and so I feel like it's weird to not mention what happens there, because this is a large part of what the movie is. But essentially, I'll just leave it at things go not quite as expected while they're waiting at this bar near the border, or across it or whatever, and then the rest of the movie is just kind of like dealing with that, and it's a lot of action. And again, I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but this is like a horror thing, so you kind of have an idea that something related to that might happen. You just don't know what. And so, in the off chance you don't know what happens, I'm not gonna spoil that. But it goes like a hard turn into like it's ridiculous and crazy, and they still take it somewhat seriously. There are obviously moments where there are moments where it's like, let's just be really cheesy and like let's just have fun with this concept, and play around with it. But there are other moments where they're trying to take it like serious and heavy, so it's not just like this total like who cares thing. And it's interesting that the movie can basically be almost like two different movies like stitched together at this one part, and still be this entertaining and this fun, and like not just feel like cheap crap. And that's what I'll say. Is like, this is a fun one. It's worth checking out. It's worth watching. And it's, I guess, even telling you that there is that weird like twist thing is a bit of like a whoa, like that's already kind of a bit much to say, because now you're not going to be surprised by it happening. But the fact that it happens like, halfway or something into the movie, instead of just like a weird thing like, oh, at the end it was actually, this thing the whole time. It's not like a twist like that. It's like a big twist that actually just changes where the movie was going, and changes a lot of it tonally. And somehow it still manages to work pretty well. So, From Dusk Till Dawn, worth checking out. And next up is The Reflecting Skin from 1991. So, another one I have no idea about. I don't really know what that is alluding to, so could be interesting. Alright, so watch The Reflecting Skin, although on the movie itself, I believe, and also on like the DVD like menu and such, I believe it just said Reflecting Skin rather than having the in there. Who knows? But I'm not sure how I'm even really gonna describe this one, because it's without giving things away. It's more or less just a lot of weird things happening, like just horrible things happening, around this main character who's like was he like 9 or 8 or 9 or something, like almost 9, I think they said. And like this like his family just seems really like fucked up, and like you kind of hear some of kind of like why that is a little bit into it. There's also this weird like misconception of that one of like these people that live out like in the country or whatever around where they are. One of the people out there is like this weird English woman who he basically kind of misinterprets as her being a vampire, and then like it's a thing where people start like dying, and that causes problems, you know, because like it's like who is like murdering these people, what's going on, and it's really an interesting like it's an interesting way of doing things where a lot of the stuff is like this kid doesn't really understand what's going on or some of these concepts, and so a lot of what the kid is like thinking is going on is like not what's going on, because you know, because realistically that's not what happens, but like you're never quite sure if like is the movie going to take a turn into that or not, and that's it's interesting, I guess, and it's a lot of weird like just, you know, misunderstandings with that. Sorry. And a lot of just things that are also just like just horrible things happening. It's like this just sucks to be this kid, and I think the only like, and it's like really interesting too, like the way they're throwing it in there, and like it doesn't feel like they wrote the kid really stupidly or anything. I think they did a pretty good job making it be like, yeah, he doesn't understand all this stuff, but he gets ideas about things, and like they didn't try to make him like normal like adult brain character. It also didn't try to make him like what, you know, an oblivious adult would be like, ah, kids think these stupid things or whatever. Like, so they did a good job, I think, with that. Especially considering the circumstances of him trying to like deal with like ridiculous things he shouldn't have to deal with, and it's not even like necessarily like, yeah, like it's not like a like most of these movies have kind of been like there's some supernatural stuff happening, and this is pretty much just like mostly just like these are just things that are awful like that happened, and it's like that sucks. And yeah, and it's weird how many like separate things are happening of like this is what the kid thinks is going on, this is what like the sheriff thinks is going on, and then this is what's actually going on, and it's like it's weird how those things like keep shifting your focus of like the tone of the scene that goes with like what currently like the people are thinking is happening. I guess like it's neat. Unfortunately, just kind of like the ending isn't that great. They don't really wrap things up real well in the ending. I mean, I guess not that necessarily needs a nice wrap up ending for everything, I guess, but I don't know, I imagine that things would just get worse after that. They would just get worse or just stay bad. Like this kid's probably just gonna be fucked up forever, because it's just dealing with these things. It's probably not gonna be great mentally, so works pretty well as like a not even like a horror movie, but it definitely works pretty well as like a feel bad movie. It's like it's just that's bad. There's one thing in the movie I don't quite get, where there's this weird like he thinks it's an angel, but like it's just looks like a I don't know like an aborted fetus or something. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's something I just didn't understand. It was supposed to be like a real, like that was just somebody's aborted fetus was out there, and the kid found it and was talking to it. It didn't talk. It was just it was just a prop. But was that like Was that supposed to be what that really was, or was that a weird supernatural thing that was supposed to be in there? I don't know. That part was weird. So now you know that's one of the weird things that's in the movie. I'll let the rest be a surprise. But now that we've got that out of the way, and again, if you want a feel-bad movie, Reflecting Skin. But now we got the last one of this, and then we can probably wrap this up, because I've been doing it for so long that I think, even though I've worn the same shirt, I think I did. Maybe I wore a different shirt for the first few. I don't even remember. It's been obviously not all in the same day, despite trying to wear the same shirt and having the same background framing. I think the shaving probably gave it away. We're gonna finally watch the last of it, which is from 2000, Immortality. Let's watch. Well, I'll watch. How about this? I'll watch, and then we'll come back to me right here again when I cut immediately, and let's chat. Well, I'll chat. You'll have to comment, but let's do our respective roles in this kind of communication. That's the one. Alright, so I just finished watching Immortality, and this one is a little easier to explain, I guess, because it's like, it starts off kind of showing you sort of what's going on. It's actually kind of like this mix between like a murder mystery, a little bit of like the sci-fi horror thing, and also a kind of like a romance kind of thing happening all in like one. And basically right in the beginning we see this character like save this other person, like our main character, who is a vampire. We don't know that quite yet, but he saves this girl who's going to like kill herself, like in the subway, I think it was, and like I don't know, like they're just seeing each other a bunch, and like they're doing a kind of a romance thing. It happens all really quickly, just kind of like a montage type of thing happening. And then it shows them like going to bed together, and then he like drinks her blood, and then there's like a weird thing that comes out. I don't really know what it is, where it comes out of. It wasn't super clear. This weird like crystal like peg like this long or something, and like it's pretty thin. It's a weird thing comes out of him, and he keeps it. He shows him put it into like, he has like it's a whole like routine thing where he's got like these sheets that like turn into like a body bag essentially. He puts that thing in like this spot where he has like this box with a bunch of those like things in there. So obviously he's to show he's been doing this for a while, and he then goes and like tries to get rid of the body. They notice she disappears, and then so like it's like that's where the murder mystery thing kind of starts in there, because like that's the supernatural part when you're seeing all that or whatever. You get the horror thing. Then like the murder mystery thing comes in, and like the police are like questioning him and trying to find out who, like why she disappeared, and like I think they found the body, and they ended up finding it, and like they're trying to figure out who did it. And so he was a suspect, and like it's interesting that it's a murder mystery where he did it. You almost want to root for him to like not get caught somehow. It's kind of a strange way how they framed it actually, and then he is falling in love with this other character, or is he? I don't know. It's one of those things where like, is it real, or is he just doing this thing again that he can get more blood and whatever from them? And then it's like the development of most of the movie is that happening, and it's like trying to deal with those relationships and the struggling of like, who should you be rooting for as an audience member? Who do you like, and how would you want this to resolve? How is it going to resolve? Are people going to find this out? Are they gonna is he going to be found out as a vampire, or is he going to be found out as the murderer? And like, what's going to happen? interesting stuff. Um, and it's maybe a little long and slow in parts. Um, it wants to be very. I feel like a lot of it, it's just like it feels like it wants to be very poetic about what it's doing, but like maybe a little too much of that. But it's still, I think it works pretty well. Everything has a nice weight to it for what it's doing. Kind of a neat little mixing of these things, and I don't know. It was I wouldn't mind watching it again. I don't think I would until I want to go back and watch some of the stuff from this pack again. But it was a thing that I wouldn't be like, I don't need to see that again. I would be fine seeing it again at some point. So that's my little mini review of that, and that clears up all the movies. Got all of them here, the 2-disc set. That should be the end of the whole shebang here. This video is probably going to be longer than I thought it was because I rambled a bit long on these things despite saying nothing really of consequence. So, hopefully this was good for the ASMR thing. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It was a fun Halloween thing to do. And, yeah, I mean, happy Halloween or whatever. This set is probably worth getting for a few bucks. It's got some decent stuff on it, and nothing in here. I don't think any of these were a total turd though. Like maybe, wow, I wasn't that long ago, and I don't remember what Dracula 2000 was really like even that much. But I think from what I remember of all these, from even the passage of time and me watching them now, yeah, like I think the Prophecy was maybe the most annoying one out of it, and From Dusk Till Dawn was maybe the best one out of them. Although I really liked the Reflecting Skin, was pretty interesting. So I don't know, it's an okay set. I could see this is probably gonna be one of those $20 sets for a couple movies that you do want, and then some other ones that are okay even though you don't really need them in your collection. Happy Halloween or whatever. Have a great night.